On May 14th, 2018, Cleveland police in the United Kingdom received a call from a man who sounded extremely nervous. He told the police in a panicked voice that at 7:20 p.m. he had gone out to get food, and when he returned home around 8:30 p.m., he found his wife tied up. She was lying on the floor in the living area, with blood flowing from her nose and neck. The police immediately sent an ambulance and a team to the address. Initial investigations revealed that there were no signs of forced entry into the house, meaning that whoever had committed this crime hadn't broken in. No windows or doors were damaged. However, the concerning question was, in a place like the United Kingdom, who would have such enmity with this Indian couple that they would brutally attack the woman in such a short time? Her hands and feet were bound with duct tape. Blood was dripping from her nose, and there were multiple injuries on her body. In this video, we will try to find out what exactly happened to this Indian origin family living in the United Kingdom. The story begins in 2002. An Indian origin family had been living in England. The family consisted of 5 members, the parents, and their 3 daughters. The eldest daughter's name was Jessica. In 2002, Jessica enrolled at De Montfort University to study pharmaceuticals. During this time, she met a boy named Mitesh Patel. The two quickly became good friends, and soon their friendship blossomed into love. Finally, after completing their studies, the two got married in 2009 with the consent of their families. Before the marriage, Mitesh had seemed like a very innocent person with a charming and pleasant behavior. But just a few days after the wedding, his true nature started to show. There's an old saying, "Not everything that glitters is gold." Just like that, not everything that appears perfect on the surface is true. The Mitesh that Jessica had known before marriage turned out to be very different afterward. Just a year into the marriage, in 2010, Mitesh began physically abusing Jessica. Their relationship had been strained from the beginning because Mitesh never seemed to care for Jessica or give her time. When Jessica confronted him about this, it often escalated into arguments, during which Mitesh would even hit her. The person Jessica had thought she was marrying turned out to be someone completely different. When Jessica shared Mitesh's behavior with her parents and sisters, they couldn't believe it. Jessica's sisters had also met Mitesh before the marriage, and he didn't seem like the kind of person who would behave this way. But now, Jessica had to live with him, and time went on. By 2015, 6 years had passed since their wedding. Both their families started pressuring them to resolve their differences by having a baby, so the couple began planning for a child. After several failed attempts, doctors suggested that they try IVF, in vitro fertilization. Jessica agreed and underwent IVF treatments, but unfortunately, she was unable to conceive even after multiple attempts. The constant pressure was taking a toll on Jessica's mental health. On one hand, her husband's behavior was making things difficult for her, and on the other, her inability to get pregnant added to her distress. Meanwhile, Mitesh started a new business and opened a pharmacy in a different area. He also bought a new house in one of the safest neighborhoods in the UK, a place where crime rates were practically zero. Fast forward to 2018. By then they had been married for 9 years, but still had no children. When doctors suggested trying IVF again, something miraculous happened. The procedure was successful, and Jessica became pregnant. Overjoyed, she visited her family on May 13th, 2018, to share the good news. Her family was thrilled, hoping that the arrival of a baby might mend the strained relationship between Jessica and Mitesh. but no one could have imagined what was about to happen the very next day. On May 14th, 2018, around 8:30 p.m., Mitesh called the police and informed them that he had gone out to get dinner, and within that short span of time, someone had broken into their house, tied up his wife, and brutally assaulted her. After Jessica's murder, the police arrived at the crime scene and began their investigation. The first thing they did was review the footage from the security camera outside Mitesh Patel's house. However, they discovered that the hard drive for the camera was missing. When questioned, Mitesh claimed that the person who broke into the house must have taken the hard drive. This explanation raised doubts for the police because there were no signs of forced entry into the house. If a thief had broken in, they would have had to break a door or window, but there was no damage and nothing had been stolen from the house. This was a major red flag, and the police started to shift their focus toward Mitesh as the primary suspect. After further investigation, the missing hard drive was found hidden in Mitesh's room, deepening the police's suspicion. 3 days after Jessica's murder, on May 17, 2018, the police arrested Mitesh Patel and informed Jessica's parents of the development. They told her family that their investigation pointed to Mitesh being responsible for the murder. One of the critical pieces of evidence was that when the security camera footage was reviewed between 7 o'clock and 8 p.m., no one else was seen entering or leaving the house besides Mitesh. Additionally, the police recovered the duct tape that had been used to bind Jessica's hands and feet, and Mitesh Patel's fingerprints were found on it. Another key element of the investigation was the data on Mitesh Patel's phone, which further incriminated him. When the police checked Mitesh Patel's activity, they found some critical data. His phone was tracking his movements and heart rate, and when they pulled up the records, they discovered that during the time of Jessica's murder, between 7 o'clock and 8 p.m. on May 14th, Mitesh's heart rate was extremely high, while Jessica's had flatlined as she was already dead. The elevated heart rate suggested that Mitesh was actively moving around the house, scattering things to stage the scene, as if there had been a break-in. The police concluded that his physical exertion while killing Jessica and creating the fake burglary scene caused his heart rate to spike. When confronted with all this evidence, Mitesh eventually confessed to the crime. He admitted that before he left to pick up pizza that evening, he had already murdered Jessica. After killing her, hoping that the CCTV footage would show him leaving the house, Mitesh told the police that he wanted to make the situation look like a robbery, which is why he ransacked the house. However, the neighborhood where they lived was one of the safest areas in England, with almost no crime, making his story less believable. All the evidence pointed back to Mitesh, and the police zeroed in on him. But the question remained: why did Mitesh kill his wife, Jessica, especially when they had a love marriage? What came next shocked everyone, including both Mitesh and Jessica's families. During the interrogation, Mitesh revealed that he was gay. He had been in relationships with several men, even before he married Jessica. The marriage was only a cover to hide his sexuality from the world and his family, as he didn't want anyone to find out. This secret was the root cause of their strained relationship, as Mitesh never truly cared for Jessica. This is also why, despite being married for 9 years, they never had children. Mitesh further confessed that after killing Jessica, he had planned to move to Australia with his current boyfriend, Amit. Jessica's life insurance, worth around $2 million, would have been paid out to him, which he intended to use to start a new life with Amit. For this reason, Mitesh decided to murder his wife. In November 2018, based on all the evidence, Mitesh Patel was sentenced to prison for Jessica's murder. This shocking crime was finally unraveled, and justice was served. What lessons did you take away from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments.